Hi friends, Miss Kristi here, and I am so excited to be together again cooking in the kitchen. Today we are learning how to make cinnamon and sugar bread bites. These bread bites have just 4 ingredients. We'll make about 20 bites, and they only take 8 minutes to cook in our air fryer. We're gonna have fun making this together today, and I'm so glad you're here.
All is calm and all is bright tonight.
Now, the first step to cooking and working in the kitchen is to wash our hands. While I wash my hands with soap and warm water for at least 20 seconds, let's go over the ingredients and supplies that you'll need to gather to cook along today. The ingredients you'll need are a 6-ounce can of biscuits, or about 5 biscuits, 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. The supplies you'll need are a cutting board, small mixing bowl, liquid measuring cup, a pizza cutter, a whisk, 1 tablespoon, 1 teaspoon, a butter knife, and tinfoil, which is optional. Okay, great. Your hands are clean and my hands are clean. We've gathered our ingredients and supplies, so let's get started making our cinnamon and sugar bread bites. This is just a really quick, fun snack or treat. Maybe you'll have it as dessert because it is a bit sweeter, but it's also fun to put together. So let's get started. Now we do need an air fryer today. This is how I'm gonna make this snack. Now you can also use your oven, so we'll talk about that as we go, but if you have an air fryer, this is the quickest, safest way that I found to do it, so that's where I'm gonna cook mine today. But if you are gonna use an air fryer, what you'll need to do is take your tinfoil. This is optional, I'm just using it because it makes the cleanup a little bit easier. The bread doesn't stick to the bottom of the air fryer as much, so I'm going to take out like the little plate that's in my air fryer and just cover it with tinfoil. So that way when we put our bread bites in, it's all ready to go. So I'm gonna get that first step out of the way. So covered it with tinfoil, I'm just gonna put it back in my pan here, and we're just going to have it all ready for when we put our bread in. So let's start actually making our treat. What you're gonna wanna do now is grab your biscuits and your pizza cutter. So grab your pizza cutter and then our canned biscuits. I've already taken mine out of the can. It's just a 6-ounce can, which is 5 biscuits. So that's what we need. They need to be uncooked because we're gonna cook them in our air fryer or in our oven. So we've got 5 uncooked biscuits, and all I'm going to do is set them on my cutting board. And now we're gonna cut each biscuit into 4 pieces. I find a pizza cutter is the easiest way, so that's why we're using this to cut it today, but we're just gonna cut it in half and then cut it in half one more time. So each biscuit is gonna make 4 little bread bites. So same thing here. Find the middle, cut it in half, cut it in half, and cut it in half. It doesn't have to be perfect if they're different sizes, no big deal. We want to try to find the middle just so they'll cook evenly, but if yours are slightly off center or they're not exactly perfect in size and shape, that is okay. Just gonna get my last 2 biscuits here. So we've got 5 biscuits, and we're cutting each one into 4 little chunks, so we will have about 20 biscuits when we are, 20 little bread bites from our biscuits when we are done. All right, you can put your pizza cutter to the side because we are done using that. All we need to do is cut our biscuits. And now grab your mixing bowl, and we're just going to pop these in here. In a minute, we're gonna pour some awesome cinnamon and sugar sauce over, but we're gonna put these in here for now just to get them out of the way. Now you're gonna wanna grab your liquid measuring cup and your whisk. So I've got my whisk, I've got my liquid measuring cup. This is what we're gonna mix the ingredients in before we pour them over our bread bites. Now we need to put the ingredients into our liquid measuring cup. Take your sugar, so we have just white granulated sugar, and your 1 tablespoon. So this is the biggest one we're using today like this. It says 1 TBSP. And we now need to put 2 tablespoons of sugar into our liquid measuring cup. So I'm just gonna scoop 1 and 2 tablespoons. Keep this right next to you because we're gonna use it for our butter. You can put your sugar aside, we're done with that. Now grab your butter. And we're gonna use the same one, the 1 TBSP for 1 tablespoon because we need 2 tablespoons of butter into our liquid measuring cup. As I always say, if you have a stick of butter, you don't have to use your tablespoon to measure. A lot of sticks of butter will have where it has the actual tablespoons already measured out. And since we're doing 2 today, it's just a clean cut if you wanted to do it from a stick of butter. However, I like to measure in case you don't have a stick of butter, maybe you're using a tub of butter, you can use your tablespoon. I'm just gonna grab my butter knife, and this is what it's for today, just to scoop out the butter into our tablespoon. So I need 2 tablespoons of butter. So as we've done in quite a few episodes, we're just gonna measure our butter into the tablespoon. And this is just another way to measure butter if you don't have a stick that has the measurements on it. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's just gonna be a sauce. So about a tablespoon, there's 1. Pop it right into our liquid measuring cup. I love that everything gets to be made right in there. It makes it easy and simple. And then we need about 1 more tablespoon right into the same one. So I use 2 tablespoons of butter. Pop it right in. And you can set your butter knife to the side and your tablespoon because we are done with both of those. And any leftover butter you have, we are done with that. You can set that to the side. All right, our last ingredient before we actually put this in the microwave and melt it is our cinnamon. So take your cinnamon and your 1 teaspoon. So this is the one that says 1 TSP, it's the smallest one. And we're gonna do 2 teaspoons of cinnamon right into our liquid measuring cup. So I'm just gonna scoop out 1 teaspoon, sprinkle it over top. And 1 more, we need 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 2 right into our measuring cup. You can put this to the side, you're done with your teaspoon, you're done with your cinnamon. Those are the only other ingredients that we're using besides our bread bites. Like I said, it's just 4 ingredients, but first we need to melt this before we pour it over our bread bites and make this awesome, yummy sauce. So this needs to go in the microwave for 30 seconds. That should melt the butter and then we'll be able to whisk it all together. So I'm gonna pop this in my microwave for 30 seconds and then we'll pour it over our bowl. All right, friends, this has now microwaved for 30 seconds. I'm grabbing the handle because the bottom of the cup can be hot. So just make sure that you grab the handle when you take it out of the microwave. But you can see where the butter is melted, and now we're just gonna grab our whisk. So it was near us before, we grabbed it a little bit earlier. But take your whisk and you're just going to mix this together the best you can. If your whisk is too big for your measuring cup, you can use a fork or a spoon. So if it doesn't fit, no worries. You can just mix it up with whatever you have available. But you really just want to make sure your cinnamon gets all mixed around. We've got our sugar that's dissolved because the butter has melted it, which is the goal. Keep your whisk handy. Just set it to the side because we're going to use that in a second. Now we're just going to pour this right over our cut up biscuits, our little bread bites. And you want to try to get as much as you can, so grab your whisk or your spoon and scoop all of that awesome sauce out. Once you're done pouring, you can set your measuring cup to the side. We will no longer need that because we are almost ready to cook them. All right, I'm just gonna use my whisk to mix this around. I'm using my whisk because it's here. I don't want to dirty another dish, but if you want to use a spoon, you can. You could use your hands if you wanted. They're clean because we washed them. But all we really want to do is get this mixed so that the sauce sticks to our cut up biscuits. That is the goal. I'm just giving this a mix. It doesn't look pretty now, but it will taste really good when we are done cooking it, and it'll start to smell like cinnamon. I feel like anything with cinnamon, sugar, and butter, you can't go wrong. All right, once you can see that most of your bread bites are covered in our cinnamon and sugar sauce, that's the goal. We're about to put them in our air fryer. So you can put your whisk aside, we're done with that for today. We're almost ready to cook them. I'm gonna take my air fryer pan and I'm just going to drop them in there. So again, my hands are clean. I do wanna just pick them up and put them in there because if I just dump them in there, they're all going to be on top of each other and I wanna make sure they're evenly spaced. So that way, they all have room to puff up a little bit and cook. How we're gonna do this is we're going to cook it for 4 minutes. We're gonna then just quick take it out and shake it. We won't even touch them. We're just gonna give them a shake so the bottoms don't burn. And then we'll put it back in for 4 minutes. So it only cooks for 8 minutes and then you have this great little snack or treat. I have made this so many times at my house and it's just really delicious. It turns out light and fluffy because basically you're eating biscuits. All right, all of my biscuits are evenly spread out. You can put your mixing bowl to the side. We are done with that. Now we need to cook them like I just talked about for 4 minutes. So next thing I'm gonna do is plug in my air fryer because my air fryer is not plugged in yet. And we need to set it to 350 degrees. That is what our biscuits are going to cook on, 350. All right. So I'm just putting them in there. I'm setting my temperature to 350. And they only need to cook for 4 minutes for the first time, and then we'll take them out and shake them, and then they go back in for 4 minutes. So let's do the first 4 minutes, and then we'll talk about it as soon as the timer goes off. All right, friends, this is exciting. So the first 4 minutes is over, and now, like I said before, we're just going to grab the handle of your air fryer and you are going to take them out and shake it. Now, if you decided to use your oven because you don't have an air fryer or you just wanted to use the oven that's easier for you, you would still cook it at 350 degrees for 4 minutes, and after 4 minutes, you would take your oven mitt, carefully pull out your baking sheet, give it a little shake, and then you put it back in for 4 minutes. So it's the same thing whether you're using your oven or your air fryer. After the first 4 minutes, we just need to shake them to get the bottoms moved around so they don't burn. So I'm just gonna take this out, but you can kind of see how they have fluffed up a little bit because they are biscuits, so they're gonna puff up, that's the goal. But I just wanna give this a shake the best you can. Now don't touch this part, it's very hot. I'm just grabbing my handle and I'm shaking them around. Before I put them back in, I do just want to make sure that they're all on a flat layer and none of them are on top of each other, but I still don't want to put my hands in there because it's hot. So if they happen to be on top of each other, just give them a little shake before so they spread out. And now we just need to put them back in our air fryer. So this is the second 4 minutes, still cooking at 350 degrees. If you're using your oven, still at 350, and we're gonna set a 4 minute timer. This is the last one. So we did 4 minutes, shake, and another 4 minutes. And then we'll take them out and let them cool and they'll be done. All right. All right, friends, this is exciting. We have just finished our second 4 minutes of cooking. So the very next thing is we're gonna take them out and let them cool. So whether you're using your oven or your air fryer, you wanna either turn off your oven first or unplug your air fryer since we are done with both of those. And now I'm just going to take out my air fryer pan and put it on a protected surface. So whether that's a cutting, like my cutting board I can set them on, or you can put them on an oven mitt or a pot holder. We just wanna now let this cool for 2 minutes so that our sheet pan or our air fryer pan has cooled and we can take them out. So let them cool for 2 minutes. All right, friends, these have cooled for 2 minutes. And again, we were just making sure that whether the sheet pan you're using or the air fryer bin is cool to touch because we don't want to burn ourselves as we start taking them out. I'm just gonna use my fingers, my hands are clean, and then you're just gonna need something to put them in. So whether it's a bowl or a plate, we just need to now get them out. And this is where the tinfoil comes in handy too because they're not sticking to the bottom. The butter in this recipe helps to make them not stick, but we're just basically gonna take them all out. And they smell so good because obviously they smell like biscuits, but then there's that cinnamon and sugar on there. And they're light and fluffy, and they're darker because of the cinnamon, so they're not, burnt. These are just dark with the cinnamon color on there. But once you take a bite into them, they're just fluffy and warm and delicious. And it only took a couple minutes, and there was just 4 ingredients. Now I do want to tell you, these aren't going to last very long. So if you choose not to eat them all or share them right away, you're going to want to put them into a container with a lid and pop them in your pantry or your cupboard for a day. They're not going to last much longer than that. You know how bread gets, when it's cooked and then it cools down, it's just not going to stay very good very long. So either eat them all right away or share them, or put them in a container with a lid and store them for just about a day. But I do hope you try and make them now or try and make them again. And when you do, as I always say, let me know how it goes. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you have any questions. I love getting to hear from you. You can even send me a picture of how your cinnamon and sugar bread bites turned out. I'd love to get to see your creation, and maybe we could share it next week. Now, speaking of next week, on next week's episode, which is episode 46, we are learning how to make a breakfast taco. This twist on a classic is filled with fluffy scrambled eggs, melted cheese, and all wrapped in a warm tortilla. We'll use just 3 main ingredients, and it cooks for less than 2 minutes. In order to cook along and make that breakfast taco next week, these are the ingredients that you'll need to have in your kitchen. 1 tortilla, 1 egg, 1 string cheese, just a pinch of salt and pepper, and cooking spray. Well, friends, our time together today is almost over. I do hope you've enjoyed learning how to make our cinnamon and sugar bread bites. I know I had fun, and I already can't wait to cook together again next time. But before you say goodbye to this episode, make sure to click subscribe if you haven't already. You just have to click the little picture of me in the corner. That way you don't miss next week's episode. It'll be out on Friday, and I'll see you then. Bye, friends.